Well, good morning. It's great to see you, and welcome back to the shop where it is another Tuesday, which means trash day, my favorite day of the week. And that workbench looks awful empty, so let's head on out, see what we can find, and bring back to the shop. You know, if you've ever been out for a walk or maybe just driving by and you saw something like this grill and you thought, hey, that grill is better than mine, I wonder if I can pick it up. Well, then this video is for you. You're going to want to stay tuned and see what we find. What do we have here? Looks like a gas-powered leaf blower, but man, that has seen better days. I don't know, that might be an interesting project to see if we could get going. Looks like they've got the pieces parts here. It's been rained on, still has gas in it. Well, I might come back for that. That might be an interesting project to see if we can get that going again. But I'm gonna keep on moving. So you see these out all the time, dryers, washing machines. This looks like one of the old style ones, and typically there's not a lot wrong with them. You can get them for the pieces parts, or you can try to fix them and then resell them. I'm not real interested in doing that, but this is a Maytag, so high end. Looks like electric dryer, not a gas dryer. That might be an interesting project. These are probably more interesting to me than the dryer. Somebody with some reupholstery skills could really, you know, make these a central part of their kitchen. If you've got like one of those bar countertops in the kitchen, paint these up, put some new cushions on there, put some new upholstery on there, and these would look real nice. You know, that's the kind of stuff you can find just sitting by the side of the road. Leave a comment if you've ever picked anything up off the curb. Let me know what the most interesting thing is, or the most valuable thing, or the craziest thing it is that you've ever seen sitting out on the curb. Yeah, here's another grill, and that's a pretty nice one as well. Charbroiled. Nothing wrong with that. It looks like it's hardly used. Got a nice back on it. Again, if I was in the market for a grill, you know, why go to one of the big box stores and spend $400? You can just wait for trash day and take your pick, it seems like these days. Another grill. Now it looks like the collection services have already been down this block, but that doesn't really bother me because I don't really go inside the bins. Once they're in the bins, I really feel like they're kind of off limits. I don't go rummaging through people's bins. It's kind of one of my rules at home. You know, if it's like this, if they're sitting on the curb out here, I always just kind of feel like that's sort of fair game. Here's some interesting stuff. A couple of fans, a rug, some humidifiers. Boy, there is a nice chair. Look at that. That is solid oak. It's got a nice, I guess, faux leather cushion on it, but I think that's a pretty nice chair, and I don't really have a use for it that I can think of offhand, but I may just grab it anyhow. Here's a couple of interesting pieces. It looks like we got a hutch top. Could come out looking real nice with a nice little paint job. This little guy here, broken leg, little repair job, maybe paint that up as well. And that could be a little project for today. I'm gonna grab this. We'll think about that. You know how I feel about wood. We can collect it and put it in the fireplace this winter. We certainly will. So I think I'm gonna be back for that. Little back door shoe bench. Maybe it had some kind of bin underneath that, but you know, that there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it, other than it's just kind of scratched up and beat up a little bit. But you know, a little paint. We might come back for that as well. Well, that's kind of interesting. It's not something you see every day. Obviously, those have seen better days, but I bet you those could be refurbished, or at least one of them could be made to work out of the two. So we may come back and grab one or both of those. See if we can't at least make one work out of the two pieces. Boy, today is the day for furniture. There is a lot of furniture to be had, and somebody with some skills could really make a killing. You know, a nice set of wingback chairs. I think these two are matching. That one's a little bit different, but you could take these as is, I think, and just take them home and use them. This has got some stuffing coming out of it. Somebody with some reupholstery skills could really make a killing here. These are beautiful chairs. Here comes a trash truck. He won't grab these because he doesn't take these, but yeah, wow, how about that? Well, wow. You know, it's rare that I come back from a walk-on Trash Day Tuesday empty-handed. I mean, it happens every once in a while. There's just really nothing out there. Today was just the opposite. It seemed like every time I turned the corner, there was something that caught my eye. I did pick up that Ryobi. We're going to see if we can't put that together. Picked up this chair. I picked up this little table. I think we could do a simple repair on that, maybe put a coat of paint on it and make it look nice. I did pick up that wood. We're going to take that out back, split that up in a couple weeks. And then we've got these two heaters. We can't get them both working. Maybe we can make one work out of the two of them. But that's my haul for today. I'm probably just going to work on a couple things. I think we'll start with this today for today's video. Get that leg fixed and maybe paint it up. And then we'll turn our attention to this and see if we can't fix that. Let's turn our attention to probably what's going to be the easier of the two projects that I'm going to be tackling today, and that's this little table leg. I think all we really need to do is glue this up for right now. Once we set this leg to curing and that glue is drying, we can turn our attention to that leaf blower and see what we can do with that. Okay, so that is that. We'll leave those screws there. We'll put this aside over here, and we'll see what we can't do to match these things up. I've got a little piece right here. It's starting to come off. We'll get some glue. We'll glue those two broken pieces together. We don't need a lot, which is good because we don't have a lot, but we just need to spread a little bit on here. That's probably more than we need. We just want to cover all the surfaces. Again, that's more than we need. Now we'll just wipe off any excess glue here that's kind of crept out. You can see it's already starting to set up a little bit, but that's okay. We can still move things around a little bit. Just going to use a little electrical tape. It sticks to anything. My plans for this don't include restaining it. I think we're going to rough it up and paint it. So that allows for a little bit of fudge factor, if you will. A little bit of filler and a little bit of paint hide a lot of flaws. So we'll set that aside, let that dry, and turn our attention to the blower next. Well, okay, where to start with this? I think really the logical thing to do is to see if we can't piece this thing back together so that we have some idea whether or not we have all the components that we need to make this run. Let's see if we can't figure out how to put this back together so that it at least looks like it is complete. All right, it looks like this cowling goes on like this. I took the gas tank off just because it was kind of in the way, and I marked this tube as going on the top, and then this tube here goes here. So I just put a piece of tape on the one that goes on the top so I can kind of keep track of which one goes where. I'm going to put the cowling on. I guess this tool that was with the bag is the little special tool that has the star key on it that helps put these on. So I'm just going to use that. I think I've got those fittings, but this is here, so I'm just going to use that and tighten these down, and we'll go from there. Now, one thing I did notice already is that doesn't seem to be able to pull that, so that could be a problem. I don't know if the engine's seized up or not, but I'm going to put this back together first and then kind of give it a once over. All right, I have had this cowling on and off a couple of times, and yeah, that is stuck. We're going to get into that in a second. The other thing that I've done is I've taken this blower arm assembly off just so that it's not flopping around and getting in the way, because I want to be able to move this around and up and down and all of that without that kind of getting in the way and limiting how I can work on this. One of the other things that I noticed when I was doing that is, and I don't know if you can hear this or not, but there's a definite clinking or clanking, and something is definitely loose in there. I can feel it. So I don't know if the inability to pull this is related to that, but you know, hopefully it is, because if this engine is seized, then we're done. It doesn't make any sense to try to fix that at that point. With the cost of these being as cheap as they are, it's not worth trying to fix a seized engine. So hopefully it's just something that's keeping the connecting rod or something in there from letting this rotate, and it's not something that's too serious. But we're going to probably have to get into it. Going to take this back off and go from there. I got a little container to put all these little screws and stuff in so I don't lose any. Found this. I don't know if this has anything at all to do with this machine, but it was on the bench and I don't remember it being there before, so I'm going to toss it in there too. Hopefully this is loose. Yep, that'll come right off. And one thing I do want to check is the coil here to see if it is too tight against this, because I can turn this if I horse it enough. It does turn, but clearly it is stuck on something. So I'm going to move this coil back a little bit, see if that is holding things up. Let me move that off and see if that's changing anything, and if it's not, then we'll start taking things apart here. These things should be, there should be a little space between the coil and the flywheel. See if I move that away a little bit. Okay. Yeah, and that's still tight. Something's going on in there. So I'm going to take the shroud off here. See if there's something on this side, and maybe we don't have to get into the engine. So let's do that. You know, the nice thing is that with the exception of that coil, all these torque head screw tops are the same, and I can use this tool for all of them, and that's pretty handy. Well, there's something right away. That's not the way it's supposed to be. It's like that melted or somehow came apart. I think that's all one piece. Let's see if it turns now. Yeah, that was what was keeping that from turning. So, you know, at least the engine isn't affected. But I don't know if this is something worth fixing or not. I don't know if it can be fixed or not. We'll have to take a closer look at that. There we go. See if we can't get this out of here. It's coming out now a little bit. There we go. Wow. This whole fan unit here is... Well, let me do some digging on the old interwebs and see if we can find anything, and we'll go from there. All right, so a quick update. I was able to go on the old interwebs and actually find a replacement for this. You know, they went as high as, you know, in some cases $100, which, you know, I was obviously not going to do. But I did find one for $26 plus shipping. So, you know, after some hemming and hawing, because again, this is something I picked up off the curb, and it's not something I really want to go down a rabbit hole with in terms of putting money into. But, you know, I'm curious. And so I decided to bite the bullet and spend, you know, the 26 plus shipping and get it sent here just to see if I could get this thing running again. I think it's just worth it from an entertainment standpoint for myself. So, you know, I went ahead and ordered that. That's going to be here, you know, who knows. So for the time being, we're going to table this project, wait for that part to arrive, and turn our attention back over to the table. We will move all this down to the waiting for parts end of the bench. clean up this end of the bench, which is the action end of the bench, and bring that table back over. Okay, let's see what we've got here. We're going to unwrap this, and that seems to have cured just fine. So we're going to sand this up. The first thing we're going to do is just scuff this up a little bit, sand this down so that it's smooth, and then we're going to do that to the rest of the table as well. We don't have to sand it all the way down to the wood. We just want to rough it up a little bit so that the new paint has something to adhere to. We want to get the shine off of this. We'll do the same thing with the tabletop. All right, we got this all just kind of roughed up, lightly sanded, and then we took a wet cloth just to wipe off any dust, make sure this was dust free. And this table, I think, is ready for paint. So we're going to set up for that. We're going to put a little paint booth up here, and we're going to spray it. What we're going to do is just cover this with a real light coat, let it dry. It's fast drying, and then turn it a little bit, and then spray that with a light coat. Turn it a little bit, spray that with a light coat. We'll probably put several coats on, but it shouldn't take that long because this should dry pretty quickly. So here we go. What we want to do is start off the edge and spray off the edge. Back and forth, but very lightly. So and then we're going to leave it. Let that be for about 10 minutes or so, and we'll do another coat. All right, it has been about 15 minutes, so we're going to turn these things and give it a coat on the opposite side. You can see I can touch these things and they're fine. That's it. That's all we want to do right now. Keep doing that maybe 2 or 3 more times and we should be fine. Then we'll do the top. All right, here we go with the top. Same deal, just a light coat to start with. We'll let that dry. Probably take about 5 minutes, and then we'll hit it with another coat, probably a 3rd coat or 4th coat. And then we'll put her all together, see how she looks. All right, I've already put a couple more coats on. I think this is going to be the last coat before we put it all together. So I'm going to put another light coat on, let it dry. We'll put it all together, see how it looks, and then just kind of touch up as we need it here and there. I think that'll be enough. So let's go with this last coat. Here, you can see that bubble. I see it, and there's a couple others here where this is just particle board and it kind of got wet, and I debated whether or not I should get a razor blade and slice that off and then just put some filler in there to flatten it out a little bit, and just decided against it. This is one of those things where good enough is good enough, and sometimes, as I've said before, perfection is the enemy of progress. So we're just trying to move forward, get this thing done. And, at some point in the future, if I want to do that, I always can. But that's not happening today. We're going to let this dry, and then we're going to put the legs on it and see how she looks. Well, there it is. And I think it turned out pretty good. In fact, I don't think you can even tell which one of these feet were repaired. If you think you know, leave a comment. We'll start with this one. Is this the one that was repaired? Take a look. How about number 2? Is that the one that was repaired? How about number 3? Is this the one that was repaired? And finally, number 4. Who's voting for number 4? I'll leave the answer in the description. So I think that'll do it for this video, even though we still have work to do on that blower. We'll get to that whenever the parts come in. We'll finish up with another video. But I think this has turned out pretty well. Listen, I appreciate you guys being here. Certainly, if you like it, leave a comment, give us a like, subscribe. We'd love for you to do that. And we will see you in the next one.